Welcome to Sound Mind International. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Welcome to the course of Power of Words and Depression. This is part 1. And part 1, we are going to be dealing with righteousness conscious. Now, the power of words in this course, as we're going to be developing a righteousness conscious, we're going to be learning about how to use the power that is in our tongue. As stated in the previous audio, that depression is a chemical imbalance of neurotransmitters, serotonin, norepinephrine, and dopamine, which often can leave one feeling sad, hopeless, depressed, and much more. Sometimes depression, as most people put it, is not just a feeling of feeling sad. Sometimes some people, if you're having a bad day at work or if you got sacked from your job and you'd ask him like, oh, why, what's wrong? And then they throw that word so carelessly, it's so carelessly thrown around, So this is what we're going to be discussing, in part 1. We're going to be talking about severe depression. I'm talking about you have zero will to live. However, when depressed, sometimes we don't feel like doing anything. In severe cases, almost feeling like death or like a zombie state, the most powerful thing anyone can do in moments where our body and emotions just don't feel like doing anything is to condition your mind and agree with your will. Because your will, God gave man a will. Your will is what you choose to do, to decide. It's what you choose to do. But oftentimes, our thoughts and words that we confess with our mouth play a part. In this PowerPoint, we are going to be giving practical examples of what you name something. Because what is in a name? What you name something, you have the power to control. For example, the Chinese word for crisis is opportunity. I call depression liberation. This is because our perception of words and situations are a large contributing factor. I know what you're thinking, how can she call this oppressive and demonic disease liberation? For something to be suppressed down, there always has to be an uplifting at some point. Let us take an example from the greatest rabbi that ever lived, called Jesus. When he said unto his disciples, when they told him that Lazarus is dead, he said, what? This sickness is not unto death, but by the glory of God, that the Son of Man is glorified through it. Now, your perception, if you can just change your perception of certain words, of certain situations, but I know when you're severely depressed, it is so hard. But let me tell you something, this has helped me tremendously. It determines what you name something, and what you name something determines your ability to control it. The power of the tongue. Sometimes you have to use the power of the tongue and choose life. I know it feels like death. I know it feels like hell. I know it feels like, you don't want to get off that couch. You don't want to get off the bed. You don't even want to take a shower. But sometimes your tongue, you have to train your mind to say no to your body. Sometimes it all begins with your tongue, but it begins, with your mind. Because your mind, as we spoke, is what you use to make decisions every day. It controls your motor skills. So in your mind, if you can just make up your mind that, today I'm going to get up, I'm going to get dressed and see what today has in store for me. Because it says, your word that it goes forth out of your mouth, it has to return with a report. It shall accomplish that which you please. So what do you please for your words to accomplish? What do you please for, what do you wish that you need to prosper in your life? What is that thing that your words must prosper in, that you're sent it to accomplish? But developing this way of thinking, it takes weeks, months of cultivation. So please don't just give up hope just yet and expect a miraculous one night turnaround. It is a thought changing process that you have to go through. What words are you speaking? Which leaves me to ask you, what is coming forth from your mouth? What words are you speaking? I know when depressed, you're suppressed and down. It's very human to speak, what is currently happening around, what is happening with COVID-19. People are practically losing their lives and being buried. But you know what? If you're alive, you're listening to this, what do you want to start sending forth from out of your mouth? What do you want to prosper? I want your mind, your life, and everything that you do prospers as your soul prospers. Now, what is your soul? It's made up of your mind, your will, and your emotions. When your mind is depressed, how are you going to make decisions every day? Just in return affects your emotions because when given the choice, when severely depressed, suicide creeps up as an emotion. And lastly, your will. This is what you choose to decide. So, do you have any projects, any goals that you want to speak over? Do you have any assignments that you need to prosper? Start speaking and identifying out of the list. It could be former projects, it could be former assignments, it could be former goals that you have maybe before this pandemic happened that you had in place, or former strategies that you need strategies to put in place, and speak over them. And make up with your mind to get up. Make up with your mind and decide today. But personally, I want to congratulate you on making a choice because you've enrolled on this course and making the effort to change your thinking. Secondly, developing a righteousness conscience consists by taking steps of faith. In this new season, we're going to be walking by faith and not by sight. Now, what is faith? I mean, faith is the substance of things hoped for. I mean, you got to mix hope and faith for faith to work, and the evidence of things not seen, which leads me to ask you, do you have a vision for your life? Where do you imagine yourself being? I mean, what are you hopeful for after this pandemic? Do you hope for a better life? I want you to get a diary and a journal. Feel free to download a template available at the website. Just it's on there, the link is on there. Feel free to download a template from the website below. So where do you want to be? I mean, for some of us, maybe your plan it was to go to school, further develop yourself academically, start a business, start a project, start something. So I want to ask you, where do you see yourself? I mean, what is your faith? Do you have any faith at all? In this practical session, we're going to be downloading a template and writing of the things that you are hopeful for, writing the plans that maybe you had before that maybe you put away, and write down practical steps on how we're going to accomplish this plan day by day. Goal setting. We need to set goals. Now, the third part of developing a righteousness conscience is being honest with yourself. For me, when I was severely depressed, I could barely make it 50 meters opposite my house to go to the store. But you know what? I made up my mind and I decided to get up, get dressed, and I took that initial step for getting outside of my house. But for you, maybe your goal, it could be getting up, having a shower, going outside for a jog, or getting out of bed. But I just want you to do the same and accomplish even more for yourself and just say, as Jesus said, you know what? This depression is not unto death. This situation is not unto death. In this oppression, there's going to be liberation. And that nothing has any power over your mind except it was given to them from above. The third part of developing a righteousness conscience is having a sense of being and purpose. As much as you want to set realistic goals, whatever those goals or plans may be, you need to have a sense of purpose. There has to be a reason for you getting up in the morning. There has to be a reason for you undergoing depression. There has to be a story to tell, a story to share at the end of all of this. And as well as there needs to be a purpose, as I mentioned before, for you being alive and getting up in the morning. Is there a vision that keeps you up at night? There has to be a reason why the battle of your destiny is so fierce. Because as we all know, where there's no vision, the people perish. So I want you, if you do not have a vision or know for your purpose of your life, start identifying what are your talents, what are your skills, what are your strengths. But my friend, I pray that as you discover your purpose and your talents or the reason for your being or whatever gives you fulfillment, that you will come out of depression and start taking control over the circumstances of your life. So each time when you hear depression knocking on your door or creeping up on your door, when it starts knocking, you gotta open your mouth and say, you know what? Not today, depression. I'm here to fulfill and complete a purpose. I can allow you into my mind. I can allow certain thoughts into my mind because the world is waiting for your ideas, your products, your services, and your business to manifest. So, despite the practical steps of using your mouth, planning, strategizing, and identifying your vision and purpose for your life, we have to believe. You have to believe these words that you're saying, they're going to come back to you with the report. You have to believe that every day you wake up, there is a purpose for you being alive. You have to believe that there has to be a way out of that business. Maybe it's your business has collapsed and you don't know what the next step to take next. So you have to believe that there's a way out and profess your way out of depression. As I mentioned, believing manifests. What we believe in often manifests in the physical realm, because you know what, stuff has to happen spiritually first before it manifests into the physical realm. So it all begins with your belief system. So over to you. Thank you for listening to this podcast. But before I go, if you've listened to the podcast or to the course Heart versus Mind, is your subconscious. Your heart is your subconscious mind. You have to believe in your subconscious mind that what you will say will come back with a report. You cannot afford after this course to entertain any other thought contrary to what you want to see happen. Because let me tell you, the belief system is the most powerful force on earth. And this is why you have to fight a good fight of faith. Because once you lose faith, once you lose hope, that's it. That's it. Once you lose faith or hope in that marriage, it could be in that friendship, in that business. Once you lose hope and faith in your purpose for being alive, then there's really not much else reason to keep living. But I believe that after this course and with the practical steps of implementation, that depression is not going to be unto death, and whatever circumstances are happening over your life, that you are going to take control of it and not the other way around. Thank you very much for listening, and see you on the next session, which is part 2. Until next time, keep thinking.